Welcome, everybody, to this ChannelVision presentation, this podcast. And joining us right now, I'm very excited to be speaking with a silver sponsor for ChannelVision Expo, CVX Expo 24. We have with us Telarus, and in particular, the Vice President of Advanced Solutions Cloud. We have Koby Phillips with us. What's going on, Koby? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate being here, Brady. Looking forward to the conversation.
Of course, myself as well. I'm really excited, and I can't wait to dive in with this Telarus Tech Trends Report and even just learn a little bit more about the company. So if we could to start out, could you talk a little bit about Telarus? Tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Telarus is a technology solutions distributor. Sits in the middle of an emerging industry, right? That is our channel, lovingly referred to by some and me included as our modern distribution channel. Allows us to provide resources and value to technology advisors of all different sizes, focus in different segmentations of technology, and try to really help them bridge the gap and bring tremendous value to their customers and the clients that they go to market with, whether that be in traditional network services, contact center, cloud, cybersecurity, mobility, IoT. I think I just covered the entire technology chasm there. We really have went out and built out some tremendous resources with our engineering teams, thought leadership, and now the Tech Trends Report for the second year, just bringing more highlights to what's going on, big conversations they could be having with clients to open up more opportunity. And that's really what Telarus has really started to specialize in. We understand we sit in the middle of a really great ecosystem between our advisors and our supplier partners, and really trying to facilitate the right conversations and bring the right resources to enhance those opportunities on both sides.
All right, very good. Could you tell us a little bit about your position within the company, kind of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we looked at several years ago now, we started off with contact center. Started to realize that advisors craved expertise in certain technology landscapes, contact center being one of the first and emerging ones. As we saw and we built out our advanced solutions team in that technology discipline, like, hey, we should start expanding this into cybersecurity and cloud. And again, now we expand into advanced networking and mobility IoT. And it's really just an layer that helps drive the education, the alignment with the right suppliers, bringing in the right suppliers in the portfolio, and getting into the weeds with certain opportunities with our advisors and help support and mostly actually, let me reverse that, supported by our tremendous engineering and solutions architects. So those guys are the ones doing most of the magic, and we just get to set up here and kind of work on the business while they're in it. And it's been a really nice 1-2 punch and brings a lot of value back to the advisors that we end up supporting.
Well, it sounds like a really great setup, Koby. So we're looking at the 2024-25 Telarus Tech Trends Report in particular for this year. Now, this original research, it does pack a lot of kind of insight and thought leadership, kind of let advisors know what's coming next and maybe start to factor these trends into their planning as they kind of move forward. What did you find most interesting or even validating about the report results?
Well, I think we started this in 2023 going into 2024, and it was a really great effort and we got a lot of tremendous information out of it. And the first pass, we went out and we surveyed and interviewed a ton of enterprise level clients. And when we deliver the information, it's a little bit slanted towards more of that enterprise level scope and viewpoint. And what I loved about this year and what validated is our advisor community and our channel really does extremely well in that mid-market to small enterprise as well as the enterprise and SMB, but it expands. But if you really look at it, where we validate, especially in some of these advanced solutions, is what the mid-market to small enterprise organizations are looking for. And you'll see that come out in the tech trends. Again, we sell across the entire stack. If you look at like the Fortune 500, the number of advisors that have sold into that, it's probably going to be about 100%. Like, so to say that we can't go in and sell at the enterprise level as a channel and as advisors is incorrect, but where we see the most value and the most growth is that mid-market to small enterprise, and the report definitely reflects that as well.
That's really interesting stuff. One of the things that was fascinating for me is the demand and impact that AI is having, in particular on like things like buying trends and resources and tech prioritization for projects across the technology stack, essentially. How do you see advisors being able to kind of capitalize on all this AI hype?
Well, there's going to be a number of different ways. For advisors that have traditionally stuck to selling like network or core like UCaaS services is what their core conversations. Bringing in an AI conversation could change the narrative of how they're viewed by the organizations that they're approaching about it. And then once they get into that and they take some of the insights and some of the learning, the education from the Tech Trends Report and the expanded education that comes from the Telarus resources, you start to recognize that there's always a pattern to something as technology emerges. And right now, you're starting to see like what the companies are looking to do. They're looking to get more productivity. They're looking to get more alignment within AI, but it also spans across contact center. It spans across cloud. It expands across cybersecurity, mobility, IoT. There's so many different use cases that are starting to emerge where IT is at the center, and it's almost like that string you can pull of the sweater, and it starts to kind of unravel all of it, and it can change the narrative for an advisor from going from like transactional or transitional, where they're just selling a product or helping somebody transition from like say prem to cloud based to transformational, and they're coming and go, hey, here's how this usually works, or here's some resources that can give you guidance here, and it open them up to a lot of different swim lanes of technology.
Okay, and I clearly everything is kind of tied together, which makes it really interesting. The report also kind of talks about how at least half of IT buyers kind of think that cloud modernization um, is a priority, for addressing scalability and security and cost management and those sort of things. But according to the data, and I kind of have it pulled up right here,
Yeah.
mid-market buyers they're planning on investing more in moving legacy systems to the cloud over the next 2 years. Could you talk to us about the gap between mid-market and the enterprise customer on modernization projects and things like that? What kind of opportunities does this create for the advisor?
Tremendous amount of opportunity. And if you start to break down like the resources that are available to each enterprise level organizations are usually fully or maybe sometimes arguably overstaffed in IT, and they're going to be looking to do a lot more what referred to as in-source. So you have in-source, co-source, and outsource, right? As far as how you want to like manage different IT components from an executive level down. And so a lot of these enterprise level, they're just looking for products and placements and that, licenses and software. They're going to go manage and do all the things themselves because they have the resources and skill set to do so. The mid-market and even up into that small enterprise, not as much. They're more resource starved. There's not as many as much skill set or budget to go afford the skill set. So they have to look at it a little bit different. So instead of insourcing everything, they look to co-source or even outsource. And that's where the big opportunity for advisors comes in. They come in with one project and they like cloud modernization. A lot of organizations, especially over the last few years, they jumped to the cloud and they moved things, but they didn't accomplish what they were looking to do in the technology. So the analogy that a lot of people have heard me say, and I'll say here just to make sure we get it out to another broader audience, it's like taking your family and moving them from one part of town to another to get your kids into a better school district. You pack up the U-Haul, you do all the stuff, you move, and then you unpack, you get settled, but you still send your kids back to the other school district, the old one, right? So you're making the move or the lift and shift, but you didn't modernize, you didn't take advantage of it. And a lot of companies are strapped for the resources to know how to do that within certain environments. So cloud modernization for that mid-market is becoming a priority because of the competitive landscape that they're in. And they need to get more innovative. They need to get more efficient and sharper when it comes to their infrastructure or their applications and their data. And so they're being forced into it. And so they're having to lean on that co-source model, an MSP, or in cybersecurity, an MSSP, to come in and do that for them. And when you start to break down the math and you start to break down the force multipliers that getting a good partnership in to an organization like that and all the things that they can start to handle. Another analogy is kind of like when you have a good handyman come to your house, you don't let them leave if they're really good at one project without giving them three or four other projects to
Right.
do. So for an advisor, what we're seeing is like if they sell $1 within these services today, we're seeing them bill out about $1.30 to $1.50, 12 to 18 months down the road. There's just a tremendous amount of organic growth that happens with organizations asking for more services or contracting more services from an MSP or an MSSP. So that's really the big advantage. And it is not shrinking. It's actually growing. There's more of a need for those resources and skill set. And then another big component of that is this drive for AI, right? So just like trying to move to cloud and do cloud modernization, this idea of implementing AI in a technology, companies are going to want to do it. There's more pressure on companies to put AI in than any other technology in the last probably 20 or 30 years. And they're feeling it from other executives, from sales and marketing, from competitive landscapes, all of these things. So they're going to be looking for those same type of skills and skill set and resources, and depending on advisors to give them the idea of how to go get them. And that's what's becoming more and more available in this ecosystem.
Well, that's really interesting and definitely true, Koby. How would you say that advisors are kind of taking advantage of all this pressure that they're facing?
Yeah, I mean, what you're seeing is organizational pressure that A is driving, right? Like I'd already mentioned, like all the different places it's coming from. And so that's forcing like a lot of IT leaders to kind of put the cart before the horse. And they're looking for use cases of putting in a technology. There's examples where we're in data modernization projects and we're looking to save money and do all these things and cut costs. And then we'll ask about AI, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we set aside a few $1 million next year to explore where we can put it in." That's more than one conversation that's happened because of the internal pressures or the external pressures that they're facing. Really, then it becomes to like, all right, there's a few key questions. Like, what are you guys doing organizationally to get prepared for it? Is your data ready? Are you guys ready? Do you have the right skill set? So as an advisor, you can start to kind of give them a roadmap of what they're going to need to do next. And we're doing a lot of education on that on the Telarus University side of things, as well as some of our live events. We have some stuff coming up here, in the next couple of months that really highlights, sorry, a couple of weeks actually, that really highlight where this is going to land as far as like getting organizations prepared for AI. And then we get into all the different use cases and things like that as well.
Well, I was going to ask you about the use cases actually. Any that you want to highlight?
Yeah, again, it's the use case mostly is stopping them before they make a big mistake and saying, hey, if you're trying to go in and without getting too into the weeds here, there's really three levels of AI, right? You have conversational and predictive, which has dominated the customer experience landscape, and our advisors have been selling, and we have a ton of suppliers over the last 7+ years that have done really well in that space. And then generative, I butcher that word, so we're going to shorten it to Gen AI on my end, just to keep me from porky pigging this thing too much. But Gen AI is really what caught everybody's attention the last couple of years. That's Chat GPT and building what large language models or LLMs and taking all of this data and collecting all of this data and making it intelligent and making me better, or taking stuff and saying, hey, fix this code or write me this type of paper and all the stuff that all the teachers hate all over the place, right? And so you have all of these things, and so organizations are looking to jump into that, but they're not ready for it. Their data is 30-50 years old. It's not organized, it's unstructured. So getting that cleaned up, getting that ready, teaching customers and protecting organizations from the security risk. Here's a great use case. You have somebody preparing a report for an executive. They have their financials. They simply put together an email, they throw it into a chat GP or a Claude or some type of engine, and they say, hey, clean this up, make this more presentable for me so I look better to my executives when I present it. And all of that critical information is now public. And so there's data leaks and concerns and data integrity. So there's a lot of checks and balances that are starting to come out. And just like any new technology, you learn as you go. And there's been such a fast adoption and demand for this that people are learning at a pretty rapid pace. So getting the right resources and the right people involved to help you protect the organizations from themselves is essentially what the biggest use cases are. What they're solving, I've heard where putting cameras on manufacturing lines and improving, looking for anomalies on product and improving product efficiency by 40-50%. There's extreme examples where a whole CRMs got replaced and the companies have profited by $30+ million. And so there's always these big examples. The one that blew my mind is we had a supplier in the ecosystem help set the price of lobsters. They went through and the customer's data was in 3-ring binders. So they had to go do data cleanup and cleansing to then get it into a place to put the technology together to help set the price of lobsters. That's a use case I never thought I would have heard, but
Yeah.
it's all for the board. And that's the fun part about what AI can impact, but it's also the overwhelming part of what AI can do. And so helping your customers evaluate what they're looking to do, giving them a step one, and then aligning the right resources to help execute on that.
How does Telarus help educate advisors for those inevitable AI conversations with their clients?
We're trying to do it across multiple mediums, as far as like digitally, in person, live, and work through different learning paths as well. Like if you're good at like reading about it and learning, great. If you're better at hearing stories, then fantastic. We're doing live events where we have AI and tech summits. We have one coming up in Florida on let me double check the date here so I don't mess it up because that'd be embarrassing for me. October 17th, and then another one in Irvine, California, coming up in November, I believe November 7th. So we're trying to hit both coasts. We hosted a very successful one early in the beginning of the year in Dallas, and we have seen a lot of conversations, opportunities that have spun off of that as well. But what we recognize is there's the immediate opportunity or like the cleanup and all of that. The bigger, broader opportunity with AI, again, is just bringing it up if you're an advisor, putting yourself in different conversations or enhancing the ones that you're already having. And then what that can do is like it sets in the middle of all of like think about all the conversations we've had and how many different technologies that we covered in just those use cases. We talked about data cleaning and getting the infrastructure in alignment. We talked about IoT mobility with cameras and monitoring and then the data that collects. We talked about the other type of AI with CX and customer experience. It's going to be across the board. So you're going to hit on something that's going to be relative to most every customer. I'd say 80+% chance that you're going to have a conversation that's going to be relevant to what they're going through. So more than anything else, it's to give the confidence back to the advisors to go have that. And we're doing that digitally, we're doing that in person, we're doing that virtually because we realize this is an opportunity that needs to be seized within a very, I wouldn't say short amount of time, but you want to take advantage of it before it becomes like commoditized as far as insight goes. This is all relatively new and people are trying to figure it out. That's the advantage we have is bringing insight and resources that can help them do that. As more time goes by, the more and more it's going to make sense and there's going to be more playbooks that customers can go in and look at other resources. And so try to be that first in as far as that insight goes would be the biggest piece of advice that we can give to our advisors.
What sort of things can we expect from Telarus in the future?
More of the same, more focus on education. We're going to double down on what we're doing as far as giving insight like this back, this tech trends report. We do it in a couple different versions. So the first version is really for our advisors to take and absorb, and then we refactor it to be where they can go and provide it out to their clients and make it more client facing and where they can take advantage of that data and collect that conversational piece with them directly. So we're going to continue to build an engine that supports our advisors and continue to add resources, insight, and try to just help drive those opportunities with them and on their behalf as much as we possibly can.
All right, and to kind of bring it back to the Tech Trends Report, you can actually access the full report by going to telarus.com/tech trends, and that's where you can request a copy to read it for yourself. Koby, if people want more information for anything else, where can they kind of go online?
Telarus.com is a great place to start. I would also say our team is not hard to find. We have one of the most robust and aggressive field sales teams. So any advisors that's looking for any information on Telarus, you can always start with your partner development manager and go from there. And But if you're looking to just source it, I would point to the website. Within that, as you get through, you also have Telarus University get into some deep level education where you have 101, 201, 301 style courses across multiple different technology planes, both on the tech side and the sales side. So you can pick whatever path is most interesting to you.
And don't forget also that Telarus is going to be a silver sponsor at CVX Expo this November in Scottsdale, Arizona. Koby, thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely, Brady. I really appreciate it.
Of course, and while you guys are online checking out Telarus and all the great stuff that they've got going on, don't forget to also visit channelvisionmag.com. On there, you can find archived versions of CVTVs and podcasts and webinars and great written content, white papers, and so much more. It's all there on demand on channelvisionmag.com. And of course, on behalf of our good friends, Telarus, everybody, take care.